The bitter taste of betrayal lingers even in death. In my first life, I was Marcus Chen, the reliable one, the devoted friend, the man who built an empire from nothing only to watch it crumble because I trusted the wrong person. My childhood friend David Kim and I started our tech company together in a cramped garage, two ambitious kids with big dreams. I was the visionary, the one who saw the future of AI integration years before anyone else. David was my business partner, my best friend, my brother in everything but blood. Or so I thought. The weekend that destroyed everything began with Sarah, David's girlfriend, brilliant, beautiful, and secretly working for our biggest competitor. She convinced me to drive them to what she claimed was a romantic retreat in the mountains. I should have questioned why she insisted I be their chauffeur, why David seemed so nervous, why she kept checking her phone. Instead, I played the loyal friend, drove them to that remote cabin, and when they asked me to leave them alone for their private weekend, I did exactly that. I never came back. What I didn't know was that Sarah had orchestrated the entire trip to get David alone, to seduce him into stealing our proprietary AI algorithms and handing them over to Nexus Corp. While I was driving back to the city, David was uploading 5 years of my life's work to Sarah's encrypted drives. By Monday morning, Nexus had filed patents on my innovations. David had disappeared with a $100 million payout, and I was left with nothing but lawsuits and bankruptcy. The next 15 years were a slow descent into hell. Legal battles drained my savings. The tech world blacklisted me as a security risk. I watched from the sidelines as David became the golden boy of Silicon Valley, celebrated for his revolutionary AI breakthroughs, while I struggled to find work as a junior developer. The stress gave me hypertension, the isolation gave me depression, and eventually, at 43, a massive heart attack gave me death. I died alone in a studio apartment, watching news coverage of David's latest billion-dollar acquisition. My final thought, a promise to myself that if I ever got another chance, I would make him pay. Now I'm 28 again, and I'm staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror of our old shared office space. The calendar on the wall reads March 15th, 2015. Exactly 1 week before that fateful weekend. My hands are steady, my mind sharp with 15 years of hard-earned wisdom, and my heart burning with the cold fire of perfect vengeance. The disorientation hits me in waves. My body feels alien, too young, too healthy, too full of naive optimism. But my mind remembers everything. Every betrayal, every sleepless night, every moment of helpless rage. I remember the exact lines of code that made our breakthrough possible, the venture capital presentations that could have changed everything, the warning signs I was too trusting to see. I'm testing the weight of a coffee mug in my hands, marveling at the absence of the arthritis that plagued my final years when David walks into our office. He looks exactly as I remember from this time, still riding the edge between ambitious and arrogant, still wearing that easy smile that used to make me feel like we could conquer the world together. But now I can see what I missed before, the calculation behind his eyes, the way he measures every word. "Marcus," he says, and I hear something in his voice that makes me freeze. "We need to talk." I turn slowly, and our eyes meet across the cramped space where we built our dreams. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Then David's expression shifts, his casual facade melting away to reveal something cold and knowing. "You remember, don't you?" His voice is barely above a whisper, but it cuts through me like a blade. "You remember everything." The confirmation hits me like a physical blow. He's back, too. David remembers our first life, remembers how it all played out, remembers his betrayal and my destruction. And from the predatory smile spreading across his face, I can tell he has no intention of letting things play out differently this time. I spent 15 years building on what I took from you, he continues, moving closer with the confidence of a man who's already won once. 15 years perfecting the empire that should have been ours, and now we're both back at the beginning. But I know something you don't seem to understand, Marcus. He leans against my desk, casual as a snake coiled to strike. I didn't betray you because Sarah seduced me. I didn't steal from you because I was weak or desperate or led astray. His smile turns razor sharp. I betrayed you because I could. Because you were always the dreamer, and I was always the one who understood how the world really works. That weekend wasn't the beginning of your downfall. It was just the moment I finally stopped pretending we were equals. The air in the room feels electric, charged with the weight of 2 lifetimes of hatred. I can feel my hands shaking, not with fear, but with the effort of restraining 15 years of accumulated rage. So here's what's going to happen, David continues, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. I'm going to destroy you again. Not with Sarah this time. I'll find a new way, a better way. I'm going to watch you build your hopes up, watch you think you can change things, and then I'm going to tear it all down piece by piece. And this time, when you die broken and alone, you'll know that it was never about that weekend. It was always about the fact that you never deserved what you had, and I always did. He straightens up, brushing imaginary dust from his jacket. The only difference this time is that you'll see it coming. Consider that my gift to you. The knowledge that your second chance is really just a slower, more deliberate destruction. The door closes behind him with a soft click, leaving me alone with the echo of his words and the terrible understanding that this war began the moment we both opened our eyes in the past. But David made one crucial mistake in his declaration of war. He assumed I was still the same trusting fool who drove him to his betrayal. He has no idea what 15 years of loss and rage have taught me about the real rules of this game. The moment David's footsteps fade down the hallway, I'm moving. Not with the panicked urgency of a cornered animal, but with the calculated precision of someone who spent 15 years planning for exactly this moment. David thinks he holds all the cards because he remembers our first life, but he's forgotten the most important lesson of our shared history. I was always the better strategist. I just needed a reason to stop playing nice. First, the immediate threat. In our original timeline, Sarah approached David at the TechCrunch Disrupt conference next week. She played the part of the smitten startup groupie perfectly. Just brilliant enough to intrigue him, just vulnerable enough to make him feel protective, just ambitious enough to make their partnership seem natural. I remember watching their first meeting from across the room, thinking how lucky David was to find someone who understood both him and our work so intimately. I was such a fucking fool. This time I'll make sure that meeting never happens, but not by warning David. That would only make him suspicious and force him to adapt his timeline. Instead, I'll eliminate Sarah's ability to play her game entirely. I pull up my laptop and begin typing with the muscle memory of countless all-nighters. Sarah Morrison, junior analyst at Nexus Corp, thinks she's untouchable because her corporate espionage is technically legal. She never signed our NDAs, never officially accessed our systems, never left a paper trail that could implicate her employer. But I remember something from our first life that she doesn't know I know. She's been embezzling from Nexus's research budget to fund her side operations, skimming money meant for legitimate consultants and using it to wine and dine targets like David. It takes me 6 hours to construct the perfect anonymous tip. Financial records that showed the discrepancies, metadata from her personal accounts that proved the timeline, even screenshots of private messages where she brags about her creative accounting to a friend. I don't send it to Nexus. They'd just cover it up to avoid the scandal. Instead, I send it directly to the SEC with a detailed breakdown of securities fraud, complete with projections showing how her actions artificially inflated Nexus's research capabilities before their IPO last year. By Thursday morning, Sarah Morrison is in federal custody. By Friday, she's been charged with securities fraud and corporate espionage. The news breaks just as David is boarding his flight to San Francisco for the conference where he was supposed to meet his future betrayer. I'm waiting for him at the gate when he returns, my face a perfect mask of concerned confusion. Jesus, David, did you see the news about that Nexus analyst? The one who was targeting tech startups for insider information? His face goes through a fascinating sequence of emotions: shock, confusion, and then a flicker of something that might be respect before settling into wary suspicion. How do you know she was targeting startups? It's all over TechCrunch. Apparently, she had a whole list of companies she was planning to infiltrate. We weren't even the biggest fish on her radar. I let concern creep into my voice. Makes you think about how many people out there are looking to steal what we've built. The beauty of this move isn't just that it eliminates Sarah, it plants a seed of paranoia in David's mind. Now he'll question every beautiful woman who shows interest in him, every potential partner who seems too perfect, every opportunity that feels too easy. I've turned his own weapon against him, made him doubt the very tactics he planned to use against me. But eliminating his attack vector is only the first step. While David is still reeling from the Sarah situation, I make my real move, the one that will change everything. In our first life, we spent 6 months chasing venture capital funding for our AI platform. 6 months of pitch meetings and prototype demonstrations, slowly building momentum until we finally secured our Series A round. It was during this period that David grew restless, started looking for shortcuts, became vulnerable to Sarah's manipulation. This time, I skip the venture capital circuit entirely. Instead, I spend the weekend coding like a man possessed, drawing on 15 years of knowledge about where AI technology is heading. I build something that shouldn't be possible with 2015 hardware. A natural language processing system that can pass basic Turing tests with startling consistency. On Monday morning, I walk into David's office and place a printed contract on his desk. "What's this?" he asks, still distracted by the Sarah situation. "Our ticket out of startup hell," I tell him. "Remember Dr. Elizabeth Warren from MIT? The one who laughed at our pitch last year?" He frowns. "The AI researcher who said we were 5 years ahead of the hardware curve?" That's the one. Turns out she wasn't laughing at our ambition. She was laughing because she thought we didn't understand the limitations of current processing power. I tap the contract. I sent her a demo of our new system over the weekend. She wants to license our core algorithm for her Defense Department research project. $2 million up front, plus royalties. David's eyes widen as he scans the contract. I can see him doing the math, realizing that this single deal would give us everything we dreamed of: financial independence, industry credibility, and the breathing room to develop our technology without venture capital pressure. "How did you—" He starts, then stops. I can see the suspicion warring with greed in his expression. "I pulled 3 all-nighters and rebuilt our core system from scratch," I lie smoothly. "Turns out the breakthrough we needed wasn't more sophisticated algorithms, it was more efficient resource management. We can run processes on current hardware that I thought would take another 5 years to develop." It's not entirely a lie. The efficiency improvements are real, just drawn from 15 years of technological advancement that hasn't happened yet. But David doesn't need to know that. "Marcus," he says slowly, "this changes everything." It does, I agree. No more pitch meetings, no more begging for crumbs from VC firms, no more wondering if we're going to make rent next month. We sign this deal, and we're legitimate players in the AI space overnight. I watch him read through the contract terms, see the exact moment when he realizes that this deal would eliminate every reason he had for betraying me in our first life. Without the pressure of failing fundraising rounds, without Sarah's manipulation, without the desperation that made him vulnerable to Nexus's offers, his motivation for treachery simply evaporates. But as I'm savoring this moment of triumph, something in David's expression makes me pause. Instead of the relief and excitement I expected, he looks almost disappointed. "You know what, Marcus?" he says finally, setting the contract down with a strange smile. "You're absolutely right. This changes everything." He leans back in his chair, studying me with newfound intensity. "I'm just wondering when exactly you became this good at chess." Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with an urgent news alert. I glance down and feel my blood turn to ice. The headline reads, "MIT AI researcher Dr. Elizabeth Warren dies in car accident. Defense Department contract status uncertain." The timestamp shows the accident happened 20 minutes ago, exactly when I was explaining our deal to David. As I stare at the screen in shock, I hear David chuckling softly. "Funny how quickly things can change, isn't it?" he says, his voice carrying an edge I've never heard before. Almost like someone doesn't want us to have our happy ending. I look up to meet his eyes, and in that moment I realize with crystal clarity that eliminating Sarah wasn't enough. Whatever game we're playing, whatever forces brought us back to this moment, the rules are bigger and more dangerous than either of us understood. The war between David and me was never just about betrayal and revenge. It was the opening move in something much larger, and I've just discovered that we're not the only players on the board. Dr. Warren's death hits the tech world like a shockwave, but I don't have time to process the implications because the phone won't stop ringing. Apparently, our weekend demo to MIT was more impressive than I realized. Warren had already shared our work with her research team, and now every major AI lab on the East Coast wants to see what we've built. The irony isn't lost on me. In trying to avoid the slow venture capital grind that made David vulnerable to betrayal, I've accidentally triggered a feeding frenzy. By Wednesday, we have 3 different defense contractors offering to buy our technology outright, 2 university partnerships dangling research grants, and a bidding war brewing between tech giants who somehow got wind of our capabilities. David handles the attention with his usual charm, but I can see the calculation behind his smile intensifying with each phone call. He's not just excited about our sudden success. He's studying it, measuring it, trying to understand how I pulled off what should have been impossible. "MIT's offering us a full research partnership," he tells me Thursday morning, hanging up from yet another call. "Full lab access, graduate student support, and a 7-figure development budget. All we have to do is relocate to Cambridge and work under their umbrella." "And give up control of our own technology," I counter. "No thanks." "Google's offer is better anyway," he continues, watching my face carefully. "They want to acquire us outright. $50 million plus retention bonuses that would set us up for life." The numbers are staggering, exponentially larger than anything we saw in our first timeline. But I've learned to be suspicious of windfalls that seem too good to be true. "We're not selling," I say firmly. "Not to Google, not to MIT, not to anyone. We maintain control of our technology and build our own company." David's smile turns cold. "Since when did you become so paranoid about partnerships, Marcus? This is everything we dreamed of." "Since I realized that the moment we sign our technology over to someone else, we become expendable," I reply. "We stay independent, we keep control, and we build something that belongs to us." What I don't tell him is that I remember Google's acquisition strategy from our first life. They have a pattern of buying promising AI startups, absorbing their key innovations, and then quietly shuttering the acquired companies once their technology has been integrated into Google's larger ecosystem. The founders get rich, but their vision dies in corporate bureaucracy. That's when she walks into our office. Victoria Caldwell doesn't knock. She just appears in our doorway like she belongs there, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, and carrying herself with the quiet confidence of someone who's used to being the smartest person in the room. She's maybe 40, with silver threading through her dark hair and eyes that seem to catalog everything they see. "Mr. Chen, Mr. Kim," she says, extending a hand with a grip that's surprisingly firm. "Victoria Caldwell, Meridian Ventures. I represent a consortium of private investors who are very interested in what you've built." "We're not taking meetings without appointments," David starts, but she cuts him off with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Dr. Warren spoke very highly of your work before her unfortunate accident," Victoria continues, settling into one of our chairs without being invited. "She believed you had solved several computational problems that the academic community considered intractable." The way she says "unfortunate accident" makes something cold crawl up my spine. I study her face, looking for tells, but she's either genuinely innocent or professionally trained in deception. "Our technology is impressive," I say carefully, "but we're not ready to discuss investment opportunities." "Oh, I'm not here to invest in your technology," Victoria replies, her smile widening. "I'm here to warn you about what happens to young entrepreneurs who develop breakthrough AI capabilities without proper guidance." She reaches into her briefcase and pulls out a tablet, sliding it across our desk. The screen shows a news article about a startup called DeepMind Analytics, a company I've never heard of, but the description of their technology sounds remarkably similar to ours. "Founded by 2 MIT graduates 18 months ago," Victoria explains. "Developed a revolutionary natural language processing system. Generated significant industry interest. Both founders died in a house fire last month, along with all their research data. Very tragic." The blood in my veins turns to ice water. This is a threat, carefully disguised as a cautionary tale. "Are you suggesting someone murdered them for their technology?" David asks, and I can hear the skepticism in his voice. He thinks she's running some kind of elaborate con. "I'm suggesting that breakthrough technology attracts attention from parties who don't always respect intellectual property rights," Victoria says smoothly. "The AI race has become quite cutthroat in recent years. Companies and governments will go to extraordinary lengths to acquire strategic advantages." She stands, smoothing her suit jacket. "Meridian Ventures specializes in protecting valuable assets, both technological and human. We provide security, legal protection, and strategic guidance to ensure our clients' innovations reach the market safely." "And what does this protection cost?" I ask. 51% equity, she replies without hesitation. "In exchange, you get our full protection network, unlimited development resources, and guaranteed survival to see your technology reach its full potential." The number hits me like a physical blow. She's not offering partnership, she's demanding surrender. Give us controlling interest in our company, or end up like DeepMind Analytics. "We'll need time to consider your offer," David says diplomatically, but Victoria shakes her head. "I'm afraid time is a luxury you don't have," she replies. "DeepMind's founders thought they had time too. Dr. Warren thought she had time. The window for voluntary cooperation closes very quickly in situations like this." She heads for the door, then pauses. "Oh, and Mr. Chen, that efficiency breakthrough you achieved over the weekend? The one that made your demonstration so impressive? We know exactly how you accomplished it. The question is whether you're smart enough to understand what that knowledge means." The door closes behind her, leaving David and me alone with the terrible implication of her final words. She knows I have knowledge I shouldn't possess. She knows our technology is too advanced for 2015. And she's essentially told us that refusing her offer means death. "What the hell was that about?" David asks, but his tone has changed. There's a new wariness in his voice, and when I look up, I find him studying me with an expression I've never seen before. I think we just discovered that we're not the only ones playing this game, I tell him. What game? He presses. Marcus, what aren't you telling me? Before I can answer, my phone rings. The caller ID shows a number I don't recognize, but when I answer, the voice is chillingly familiar. Mr. Chen? This is Detective Rodriguez, SFPD. I'm calling about an incident involving your business partner, David Kim. There's been an attempt on his life. My blood freezes. What? But he's right here. I look up, and David's chair is empty. While I was staring at my phone, processing Victoria's threat, he vanished without a sound. Sir, we found Mr. Kim's car at the bottom of a ravine off Highway 1, the detective continues. The brake lines were cut. He's alive, but badly injured. He keeps asking for you, says there's something urgent he needs to tell you about someone named Victoria. My hands start shaking as the full scope of what's happening becomes clear. Victoria Caldwell isn't just some corporate raider looking to steal our technology. She's something much more dangerous, someone with resources and reach that extend far beyond normal business warfare. And she's just demonstrated that she can make either of us disappear whenever she chooses. The war between David and me has become irrelevant because we're both pawns in a much larger game. The question now isn't whether we can trust each other, it's whether we can survive long enough to figure out who's really pulling the strings. My second chance isn't just about avoiding David's betrayal. It's about navigating a world where breakthrough technology makes you a target for forces that operate outside the law, outside morality, and apparently outside normal human limitations. The hospital smells like disinfectant and desperation. David looks like hell. Left arm in a cast, face decorated with a rainbow of bruises. But his eyes are sharp and focused in a way I haven't seen since our college days. When the nurse finally lets me into the ICU, he grabs my wrist with his good hand and pulls me close. They weren't trying to kill me, he whispers urgently. They were sending you a message. What do you mean? The brake lines weren't just cut, they were surgically severed with precision tools, professional work. But they also installed a remote override system in my car that could have stopped the crash completely. His grip tightens. Someone wanted me to survive long enough to deliver a message. I feel that familiar chill crawling up my spine. What message? David reaches under his pillow and pulls out a small digital recorder. They left this in my car. Play it. I hit the play button and immediately recognize Victoria Caldwell's cultured voice. Mr. Chen, I trust this demonstration clarifies the seriousness of our previous conversation. Mr. Kim's accident was precisely calibrated. Enough trauma to ensure you understand our capabilities, not enough to permanently damage a valuable asset. You have 24 hours to accept our partnership offer. Refuse, and the next accident will be considerably less survivable. The recording clicks off, leaving us in tense silence. David studies my face with the intensity of someone trying to solve a puzzle. Marcus, there's something else, he says quietly. While I was trapped in that car, waiting for the rescue crew, I had time to think about some things that haven't been making sense. Like how you suddenly developed AI capabilities that are 5 years ahead of current technology. Like how you knew exactly which approach would impress Dr. Warren. Like how you seem to know things about people before you meet them. My mouth goes dry. David, I'm not stupid, Marcus, and I'm not the enemy here. His voice drops to barely above a whisper. Something happened to us, didn't it? Something that explains why we both seem to know things we shouldn't know. I stare at him for a long moment, weighing my options. Victoria Caldwell's threat changes everything. If we're going to survive whatever this is, we need to work together. And David's right. He's not stupid. Eventually, he'll piece together the truth anyway. We died, I tell him simply. Both of us. 15 years from now. And somehow, we're back. Instead of shock or disbelief, I see something like relief cross his face. I was hoping you'd say that, because I've been having the strangest dreams. Except they don't feel like dreams. They feel like memories of a life I haven't lived yet. What do you remember? Enough to know that I betrayed you, he says quietly. Enough to know that I destroyed everything we built together. And enough to know that you have every reason to hate me for something I haven't done yet. The honesty in his voice catches me off guard. This isn't the arrogant, calculating David who declared war on me 3 days ago. This is someone who's been wrestling with the moral weight of memories from a life he's desperate to change. The question is, he continues, do we let the past define our future, or do we use what we know to build something better? Before I can answer, the hospital room door opens, and Victoria Caldwell walks in, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits who have the unmistakable bearing of professional security. "Gentlemen," she says pleasantly, "I do hope you've had time to consider my proposal." "We're not interested," I tell her firmly. "Find someone else to extort." Her smile doesn't waver. "I'm afraid you misunderstand the nature of our relationship. This isn't extortion, it's recruitment. You see, Meridian Ventures has been tracking anomalous technological developments for quite some time. Breakthroughs that appear decades ahead of their time, innovations that seem to come from nowhere, entrepreneurs who suddenly display capabilities far beyond their documented expertise." She moves closer to David's hospital bed, her eyes never leaving mine. "We've identified 47 such cases in the past 5 years. Individuals who seemingly overnight develop revolutionary technologies in fields ranging from energy storage to quantum computing to artificial intelligence." My blood turns to ice. She's talking about other people like us, other people who remember the future. "The fascinating thing," Victoria continues, "is that these individuals often demonstrate knowledge of future market trends, technological developments, and strategic decisions that haven't been made yet. Almost as if they've lived through these events before." David and I exchange glances. We're not unique. Whatever brought us back, it's happened to others. "Of the 47 cases we've tracked," Victoria says conversationally, 39 individuals chose to partner with Meridian Ventures. They've gone on to develop successful companies, revolutionary technologies, and comfortable lives under our protection. The remaining 8 chose to operate independently. "What happened to the 8? David asks, though from his tone, I think he already knows. "Accidents," Victoria replies simply. "Car crashes, house fires, medical emergencies, random violence. The future is a dangerous place for those who don't have proper guidance." The threat is crystal clear, but something about her explanation doesn't add up. If she's been tracking people like us for 5 years, that means this phenomenon, whatever it is, predates our deaths by a decade. We're not the first to be sent back, and we won't be the last. "Who are you really?" I demand. "And how do you know about people remembering the future?" Victoria's smile turns genuinely warm for the first time. "That's the right question, Mr. Chen, and I think you're ready for the answer." She reaches into her briefcase and pulls out a thick folder, setting it on David's hospital table. Meridian Ventures was founded in 1987 by a consortium of individuals who shared a unique perspective on temporal mechanics. You might call us the first generation. David opens the folder with his good hand, and I see his face go pale. Inside are dozens of photographs, men and women of various ages, but all with the same look of knowledge and wariness that I've been seeing in mirrors lately. The first confirmed case of temporal displacement was in 1981, Victoria explains. A young engineer named Robert Meridian died in a laboratory accident while working on experimental particle acceleration. 3 days later, he appeared to wake up in his laboratory 15 years earlier, with complete memories of his future life. She points to one of the photographs, a man in his 30s with intelligent eyes and prematurely gray hair. Robert used his knowledge of future technology to found a research company. Within 5 years, he had developed innovations that made him one of the wealthiest men in America. But he also discovered that he wasn't alone. Other people started appearing, David says, scanning through the photographs. People who remembered futures that hadn't happened yet. Exactly. And Robert realized that these individuals represented either the greatest opportunity or the greatest threat humanity had ever encountered. People with knowledge of future disasters, technological breakthroughs, market crashes, political upheavals, walking spoilers for the entire human timeline. Victoria takes back the folder. So he founded Meridian Ventures to find these individuals and help them navigate their unique circumstances. Some choose to partner with us, sharing their knowledge in exchange for protection and resources. Others prefer to work independently, and we respect that choice, as long as their actions don't threaten the stability of the timeline. And if they do threaten the timeline, I ask. Then we intervene, she says simply. The future is a delicate thing, gentlemen. Change too much, too quickly, and you risk creating paradoxes that could unravel everything. David closes the folder, his expression thoughtful. You're saying we're part of some kind of cosmic correction system? That people are being sent back to fix problems in the timeline? I'm saying that temporal displacement appears to be a natural phenomenon triggered by significant traumatic events. Death, yes, but also major disasters, profound losses, moments of intense regret. Victoria's voice takes on an almost scientific tone. We believe it's the universe's way of providing course corrections, giving key individuals the chance to prevent catastrophic outcomes. But you control who gets to make those corrections, I point out. We guide them, she corrects. The knowledge these individuals possess is incredibly valuable, but it's also dangerous. Uncontrolled changes to the timeline could create ripple effects that make things worse, not better. She moves toward the door, then pauses. You have until tomorrow to decide, gentlemen. Partnership with Meridian means resources, protection, and the ability to use your knowledge constructively. Independence means, well, you've seen what independence means. After she leaves, David and I sit in silence for several minutes. Finally, he speaks. Marcus, there's something I need to tell you. Something about our first life that you don't know. His voice is heavy with guilt. I didn't betray you because Sarah seduced me. I didn't even betray you for the money. I turn to look at him, sensing that whatever he's about to say will change everything. 3 weeks before that weekend, I was contacted by someone claiming to represent a group of investors interested in our technology. They knew things about our code that should have been impossible. Specific algorithms, efficiency improvements, even bug fixes we hadn't implemented yet. My blood runs cold. Meridian Ventures. They told me they could make us incredibly successful, but only if I was willing to separate from you. They said you were too idealistic, too naive to handle the kind of power our technology represented. David's voice cracks slightly. They offered me everything I thought I wanted: wealth, recognition, control over the future of AI development. So you took it? No, he says quietly. I told them to go to hell. I told them you were my best friend and business partner, and that whatever we built, we'd build together. I stare at him in shock. This isn't the story I remember. Isn't the betrayal that destroyed our friendship and ruined my life. That's when they introduced me to Sarah, David continues. Except her name wasn't Sarah Morrison. And she wasn't working for Nexus Corp. She was working for Meridian Ventures, and her job was to ensure that I made the right choice, for my own good and for the stability of the timeline. The implications hit me like a physical blow. They orchestrated everything. The betrayal, the theft, my downfall, it was all planned. They told me that in their projections, you would use our technology irresponsibly, that you would cause some kind of disaster that would set AI development back decades, that the only way to prevent it was to ensure that I, not you, controlled our innovations. David looks me directly in the eyes. I was young and stupid and scared, Marcus. They showed me evidence of futures where your idealism led to catastrophic AI failures, where your refusal to work with governments and corporations resulted in the technology being stolen by hostile nations. They convinced me that betraying you was the only way to save the world. And you believed them. I wanted to believe them, he admits, because believing them meant I could have everything I wanted and feel righteous about it at the same time. The room feels like it's spinning around me. Everything I thought I knew about our first life, about David's betrayal, about the forces that shaped our destinies, it was all manipulation by people who claimed to be protecting the timeline. So, what do we do now? I ask. David's expression hardens with newfound resolve. Now we stop letting other people write our story. Victoria Caldwell and Meridian Ventures think they can control us because they control information, but they made one crucial mistake. What's that? They brought us together again, and this time we know what they're capable of. The plan comes together over the next 18 hours like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. David and I work with the focused intensity of two men who've already died once and refuse to let it happen again. We're not just fighting for our company or our technology. We're fighting for the right to control our own destinies. The setting couldn't be more perfect. The annual Silicon Valley Innovation Summit, where every major player in the tech industry gathers to glimpse the future. Victoria Caldwell will be there, along with representatives from Google, MIT, and every other organization that's been circling our technology like vultures. More importantly, the summit is being live-streamed to millions of viewers worldwide, the perfect stage for exposing the truth about Meridian Ventures. David, despite his injuries, insists on attending. They think they broke me, he says, adjusting his arm sling with grim determination. Let them think that right up until the moment we destroy them. Our presentation is scheduled for 2 p.m., ostensibly a demonstration of our AI capabilities for potential investors. What the audience doesn't know is that we've spent the night coding something very different, a comprehensive analysis program that can trace digital fingerprints across decades of technological development. Victoria Caldwell arrives precisely on time, flanked by her usual security detail. She's dressed in another perfect suit, carrying herself with the confidence of someone who's never lost a game of chess. When she sees us backstage, her smile is warm and predatory. Gentlemen, I do hope you've made the wise choice. We have, I tell her. We're ready to accept your partnership offer. The relief in her expression is almost amusing. Excellent. I knew you were both too intelligent to choose the difficult path. There's just one small matter, David adds. Before we sign anything, we'd like to demonstrate our technology publicly. Show the world what Meridian Ventures is acquiring. Victoria's eyes narrow slightly. That's unnecessary. Our partnership agreement includes comprehensive NDAs. Consider it a gesture of good faith, I say smoothly, a public demonstration of our commitment to transparency with our new partners. She studies us for a long moment, clearly sensing a trap but unable to identify it. Finally, she nods. Very well, but nothing proprietary gets revealed. Basic capabilities only. Of course, David agrees. We wouldn't want to compromise Meridian's interests. The auditorium is packed with the who's who of Silicon Valley. I spot executives from every major tech company, venture capitalists whose decisions shape entire industries, and journalists whose articles will be quoted for years. The livestream counter shows 2.3 million viewers and climbing. I take the stage with the confidence of someone who's spent 15 years waiting for this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marcus Chen, and today I want to talk to you about the future. Not the future we're building, the future some of us have already lived. A murmur runs through the audience. In the front row, I see Victoria Caldwell's face go rigid. 3 days ago, my business partner David Kim was nearly killed in what appeared to be a random car accident. But David survived, and he brought back evidence that his accident was actually a precisely calculated attack. I gesture to the large screen behind me, which displays the digital recorder. This is a recording found in David's car after the crash. Victoria's recorded voice fills the auditorium. Mr. Chen, I trust this demonstration clarifies the seriousness of our previous conversation. The audience reaction is immediate and electric. Gasps, angry murmurs, the frantic clicking of keyboards as journalists begin typing. Victoria rises from her seat, her security detail moving to flank her, but she's trapped by the packed auditorium and the live stream that's broadcasting her voice to millions. The recording comes from Victoria Caldwell of Meridian Ventures, I continue, an organization that has spent decades tracking and controlling individuals with unusual technological capabilities. David joins me on stage, moving carefully but with unmistakable determination. Meridian Ventures has a simple business model, he says into his microphone. Find people who develop breakthrough technologies, then force them to surrender control through threats, blackmail, and violence. But here's what Meridian doesn't want you to know, I add, pulling up a new display on the screen. Their organization was founded specifically to control individuals who possess knowledge of future technological developments. People who, for reasons we don't fully understand, remember living in timelines that haven't happened yet. The audience is dead silent now, hanging on every word. Even the journalists have stopped typing, staring at us with the expression of people witnessing something unprecedented. Over the past 18 hours, David and I used our AI system to analyze 40 years of technological patent filings, startup acquisitions, and mysterious deaths in the tech industry. What we found was a pattern, a consistent trail of breakthrough innovations being developed by individuals who then either disappeared, died in accidents, or suddenly joined Meridian Ventures as partners. The screen fills with a complex data visualization showing connections between dozens of companies, patents, and individuals. Red lines indicate suspicious deaths, yellow lines show forced acquisitions, and green lines represent successful partnerships with Meridian. 47 cases of extraordinary technological breakthroughs, David says. 47 individuals who developed innovations decades ahead of their time. 39 who accepted Meridian's partnership offers and survived. 8 who refused and died. I look directly at Victoria Caldwell, who is now surrounded by her security team but unable to leave without creating an even bigger scene. The question isn't whether people can remember the future. The evidence suggests they can. The question is whether we'll allow one organization to control that knowledge and decide who lives or dies based on their compliance. Mr. Chen, Victoria calls out, her voice carrying clearly in the silent auditorium. You're making very dangerous accusations based on coincidental data correlations. Am I? I reply. Then perhaps you'd like to explain how you knew Dr. Elizabeth Warren would be interested in our technology before we contacted her? How you knew specific details about our algorithms that we'd never shared with anyone? How you were able to predict our development timeline with such accuracy? Her face goes pale. In trying to intimidate us, she revealed knowledge she couldn't possibly possess through normal means. Or perhaps, David adds, you'd like to explain the contents of this folder? He holds up the photographs Victoria showed us in the hospital, the faces of other temporal displacement cases. Several people in the audience gasp in recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, I say, some of you may recognize faces in these photographs. Entrepreneurs who developed revolutionary technologies, then either died mysteriously or suddenly became extremely reclusive. What you're looking at is Meridian Ventures' collection of individuals they believe have temporal knowledge. The auditorium erupts in chaos. Journalists shouting questions, audience members taking photos, security personnel speaking urgently into radios. But through it all, I keep my eyes on Victoria Caldwell. Her mask of professional composure has completely slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. When she speaks, her voice carries a new edge of threat. Mr. Chen, Mr. Kim, you have no idea what forces you're meddling with. The timeline is a delicate thing, and some knowledge is too dangerous to be public. Then let the public decide, I reply. Let them decide whether breakthrough technology should be controlled by threats and murder, or whether innovation should be free to flourish. You're making a mistake that will have consequences far beyond your understanding, she says, moving towards the exit with her security team. The only mistake, David calls after her, was thinking you could control us forever. As Victoria Caldwell disappears through the auditorium doors, I feel a moment of triumph. We've exposed Meridian Ventures publicly, revealed their methods to the world, and given other temporal displacement individuals the information they need to resist manipulation. But victory comes with a price. In destroying Meridian's secrecy, we've also announced to the world that temporal displacement is real, that some people possess knowledge of the future, and that this knowledge can be incredibly valuable. We haven't just defeated our opponent. We've changed the rules of the game entirely, and as I look out at the audience of tech leaders, government representatives, and international observers, I realize we may have just painted targets on the backs of every person like us in the world. The livestream counter shows 8.7 million viewers and climbing. There's no going back now. The aftermath unfolds like a controlled avalanche. Within 6 hours of our presentation, #temporal displacement is trending worldwide. Conspiracy theorists are emerging from every corner of the internet, and 3 different government agencies have left voicemails requesting informal conversations about our theoretical research. David and I barricade ourselves in our office, watching the world react to information it wasn't prepared to process. News channels cycle between dismissive skepticism and breathless speculation. Scientific forums explode with debates about temporal mechanics. Stock markets fluctuate wildly as investors try to determine which companies might be benefiting from future knowledge. Jesus Christ, David mutters, scrolling through news feeds on his laptop. What have we done? The question hits deeper than he realizes. In our first life, my idealism led to naive trust and eventual destruction. In this life, my cynicism may have led to something worse, the weaponization of temporal displacement by forces far more powerful than Meridian Ventures. My phone rings. The caller ID shows only a number, but when I answer, the voice is familiar in the worst possible way. Congratulations, Mr. Chen. You've successfully destabilized 30 years of careful timeline management. It's Victoria Caldwell, but her tone has changed completely. Gone is the cultured businesswoman facade, replaced by something that sounds like barely contained fury. You wanted to expose us, she continues. Well, you've succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. Meridian Ventures is finished as a covert operation, but you seem to have forgotten that nature abhors a vacuum. What do you mean? I mean that Meridian wasn't the only organization tracking temporal displacement cases. We were simply the most benevolent. Her laugh is bitter. Did you really think governments and intelligence agencies weren't aware of people who possess future knowledge? Did you honestly believe we were the only ones who understood the strategic value of temporal assets? Through our office window, I see black SUVs pulling up to the building. Not the discreet security teams Meridian employed, but obvious government vehicles with tinted windows and federal plates. The difference, Victoria continues, is that Meridian offered partnership. We preserved the illusion of choice, maintained the fiction that temporal displacement individuals could live normal lives. The organizations that will replace us are not so accommodating. David joins me at the window, his face grim. Marcus, we have company. You see, Mr. Chen, Meridian Ventures was founded not to control temporal displacement, but to protect it from those who would exploit it without restraint. We were the buffer between people like you and the entities that view you as strategic weapons rather than human beings. The building's fire alarm starts blaring, not because of any emergency, but because someone wants to clear the building quickly and efficiently. Through the office door, I can hear the heavy footsteps of people moving with military precision. Who are they? I demand. Multiple parties, Victoria replies. The NSA wants to weaponize temporal knowledge for intelligence purposes. The Chinese MSS believes temporal displacement individuals could provide crucial economic and military advantages. Several private military contractors think people with future knowledge would make excellent assets for corporate espionage. Take your pick. The footsteps are getting closer. David grabs our laptops and external drives, shoving them into a backpack with practiced efficiency. And that's just the immediate response, Victoria continues. Wait until religious extremists decide that temporal displacement is either divine prophecy or demonic possession. Wait until governments start forcing all citizens to undergo temporal screening to identify hidden assets. Wait until every person who demonstrates unusual foresight becomes a target for kidnapping, interrogation, or worse. A loud knock echoes through our office door. Mr. Chen, Mr. Kim, this is Agent Sarah Martinez with the Department of Homeland Security. We need to speak with you immediately regarding matters of national security. The irony of the agent's name isn't lost on me. Even in this timeline, someone named Sarah is delivering bad news about our future. You wanted transparency, Victoria says, her voice taking on a mocking edge. You wanted to free temporal displacement individuals from Meridian's control. Congratulations, you freed them directly into the hands of organizations that don't believe in the luxury of choice. The knock becomes pounding. Mr. Chen, please open the door. We're not here to arrest you, but we do need to discuss the implications of your presentation. David and I exchange glances. The fire escape leads to the building's roof, but that would only delay the inevitable. We've painted ourselves into a corner with no good exits. There is one alternative, Victoria says, as if reading my thoughts. Meridian Ventures may be finished as a public entity, but our resources and protection networks remain intact. We can offer you extraction, new identities, and continued freedom to use your knowledge, but under deep cover, away from the spotlight you've created. In exchange for what? Complete cooperation with Meridian's original mission. Help us protect other temporal displacement individuals from the chaos you've unleashed. Use your abilities to prevent the catastrophic timeline disruptions that multiple competing interests will inevitably cause. The door to our office explodes inward. 6 federal agents pour through, weapons drawn but not aimed, moving with the coordinated precision of people who've done this many times before. "Mr. Chen, Mr. Kim, I'm Agent Martinez," says a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "I need you both to come with us for debriefing. There are some very serious people who want to understand exactly what you revealed today." "Are we under arrest?" David asks. "Not yet," Martinez replies. "But that could change very quickly depending on how cooperative you choose to be." I look at the agents, then at David, then at the phone in my hand where Victoria Caldwell waits for an answer. In trying to free ourselves from one form of control, we've created a situation where we're being offered another form of control or facing immediate capture by forces we don't understand. "Victoria," I say into the phone, loud enough for the agents to hear, "I need to ask you something important." "Yes?" "In your 40 years of tracking temporal displacement cases, have you ever encountered anyone who was sent back more than once?" Her pause tells me everything I need to know. "Why do you ask?" "Because if this timeline gets fucked up badly enough, if the chaos we've unleashed leads to catastrophic outcomes, some of us might get another chance to fix it." I look directly at Agent Martinez. "And if that happens, we'll know exactly who the real enemies are." Victoria's laugh is genuine this time, tinged with something that might be respect. "Mr. Chen, you continue to surprise me. The answer is yes. We've documented 3 cases of sequential displacement, but the psychological toll is significant." Agent Martinez steps forward, her patience clearly running thin. "Mr. Chen, please end your phone call and come with us, now." I hang up on Victoria and raise my hands slowly. "Agent Martinez, before we go anywhere, there's something you should know." "What's that?" "You're about to interrogate 2 men who have already died once and lived through 15 years that haven't happened yet. We know how this story ends if we cooperate with government agencies who view us as assets rather than citizens." David nods, understanding my strategy. "And we know how many other people like us exist, where they are, and what they're capable of." "You're threatening us?" Martinez asks, her hand moving toward her weapon. "We're offering information," I correct, "but only on our terms, and only if you guarantee our protection rather than our exploitation." Martinez speaks quietly into her radio, then looks back at us. "You have 10 minutes to convince me that cooperation is more valuable than detention. Start talking." As I begin explaining what we know about temporal displacement networks, government interest in future knowledge, and the strategic implications of our public revelation, I realize that David and I have inadvertently stumbled into a much larger game than we ever imagined. We're no longer just 2 entrepreneurs trying to build a tech company. We've become the catalyst for a fundamental shift in how the world handles individuals with extraordinary knowledge. And whether that shift leads to a better future or a darker one depends entirely on the choices we make in the next few hours. The price of our victory over Meridian Ventures is becoming clear. We've traded one form of control for a much more dangerous freedom, where every decision we make could determine whether temporal displacement becomes humanity's greatest advantage or its ultimate weapon of self-destruction. 3 months later, I'm standing in a secure conference room beneath the federal building in San Francisco, looking at a wall of monitors displaying faces from around the world. David sits beside me, his arm finally healed, his expression carrying the calm confidence of someone who's learned to play chess with the future itself. The faces on the screens represent what Agent Martinez calls the Temporal Advisory Council, 47 individuals from 6 countries, all confirmed cases of temporal displacement, all now working together to prevent the chaos our public revelation threatened to unleash. It turns out Victoria Caldwell was right about one thing. The world wasn't ready for the truth about temporal displacement. Our Silicon Valley presentation triggered a global crisis as governments scrambled to identify and control temporal assets, intelligence agencies launched covert recruitment operations, and conspiracy theorists turned every successful entrepreneur into a suspected time traveler. But she was wrong about something more important. People like us don't need shadowy organizations to protect us. We just need each other. The situation in Beijing is escalating, reports Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation despite the name that still makes me wince, from the Hong Kong Monitor. Chinese intelligence has detained 6 suspected temporal displacement individuals. We need to coordinate an extraction. I can provide logistical support, offers Eric Volkov from Moscow. My shipping networks can move people and equipment without government oversight. And I can provide electronic cover, adds Maria Santos from Sao Paulo. 15 years of cybersecurity evolution makes current encryption look like children's toys. This is what we've built in the 3 months since our world changed. Not a secret organization like Meridian Ventures, but an open network of individuals who use their temporal knowledge to protect each other and guide humanity toward better outcomes. David leans forward to address the screens. The extraction protocol is authorized. Eric, Maria, coordinate with Dr. Chen and execute within 48 hours. Agent Martinez, who has become our unofficial liaison with legitimate government agencies, nods approvingly. The State Department will provide diplomatic cover if needed. It's a strange alliance, federal agents working with temporal displacement individuals to prevent the weaponization of future knowledge, but it's the best solution we could find to the crisis we accidentally created. As the meeting ends and the screens go dark, David turns to me with a slight smile. You know what's funny? In our first life, I betrayed you because I thought I knew better than you how to handle power. In this life, we're handling more power than we ever imagined, and the only way it works is because we're doing it together. I nod, looking out the conference room window at the San Francisco skyline. The difference is that this time, we understand what we're really fighting for. Which is the right to choose our own future, even if we've already lived it once. My phone buzzes with an encrypted message from an unknown sender. New temporal displacement case detected in Lagos, Nigeria. Recent graduate in renewable energy technology, requesting immediate contact and support. I show the message to David, who grins. Looks like we've got work to do. As we gather our materials and prepare to add another person to our growing network, I realize that our second chance was never about avoiding the past or controlling the future. It was about learning to use the knowledge of what went wrong to build something better. The war between David and me is over. The real work of protecting humanity's timeline has just begun.